Alright, Islam family. Today is Tuesday, March 6, 2012. And Moore's class, well, last Moore's class we spoke on the Vienna Convention and we touched on the Constitution and current events, different current events. Today we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the Vienna Convention, the Washita, and a few other subjects. So before we start, we'll rise with the Moorish American prayer. 5 on the left and 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Mother and Father of love.
Mother and Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide. And our salvation. By night. And by day. Through his and our holy prophet. Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Ameen. Ashe. Otep. Sila. Islam family. So, we speak about Noble Jew Ali, but what as being a prophet. What we discussed in another class is her revised statute, which is a statute that the prophet used in order to establish the Moorish Science Temple in 28, sorry. So, not only was he a prophet in terms of having information about the past and knowing how to determine certain events in the future, but he was well educated in terms of law, well educated in terms of civics, well educated in terms of business. For someone in those times to have done all the things that he did as far as business and law, that's someone on a professional level. No two ways around it. Right? Noble Drew Ali was beyond professional. So when it comes to leaders of the community, if you consider yourself to be a Moor, then you have to know about this. It only makes sense to know about this person who was beyond professional in those times, because we always go back to those times and consider those times to be times of sort of, you know what I mean, times that were behind these times of regression compared to these times, that, you know, we had less rights and so forth. But the Prophet was doing things that showed that he was well in tune with how to go about getting things done. So a few facts about Noble Drew Ali. Common knowledge about Noble Drew Ali that blacks, Negroes, and colored refused to accept. Okay. 1. 2 Americans of African descent were rumored to have studied under Jamal al-Din al-Afghani, were the parents of the man who would one day establish Moorish science in the United States. So Jamal al-Din al-Afghani was a man from Persia, or what they call Iran, who came to the United States and was a Muslim and brought his faith and taught his faith somewhat. And it's known, right, or rumored, it says here that the parents of Noble Drew Ali, right, studied with this man. So in the 1870s or 1860s, before the Prophet was even born, here you have these two people studying from someone who is from a culture that is one of those cultures or a heritage that is somewhat continuous, going back to ancient times, into times when we knew who we were Moors, coming and teaching with Moors here. So before he was even born, right, he was on a level, right, on a level that the type of level that goes into creating the leaders that we call leaders today. They have the same sort of background, right? There's always some interesting thing about the leaders we follow that constitutes their rise to leadership. The next point. According to one legend, Noble Drew Ali made a pilgrimage to North Africa, where he studied with Moorish scholars and received a mandate from the King of Morocco to instruct Americans of African descent in Islam. So he received a mandate from the King of Morocco to instruct Americans of African descent in Islam. Next point. On his return to the United States in 1913, he had a dream in which he was ordered to found a movement to uplift fallen humanity by returning the nationality, divine creed, and culture to persons of Moorish descent in the Western Hemisphere. Okay. Next point. Noble Drew Ali is said to have made a historic visit to Washington, D.C. in order to reclaim the Moorish flag and obtain official recognition to call his people to their true faith, al-Islam. The U.S. President, believing that African Americans would not embrace Islam, gave Noble Drew Ali full authority to teach Moorish science in America. So this is another claim. So these are all claims, right, that up till now, 80 years, they haven't been disputed. 80 years, they haven't been disputed. No one's challenged, right? No one's spoken about it. And we're talking about presidents, heads of state, leaders, religious leaders from the East. Following the inexplicable death of Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish Science Temple continued and gave rise to unique Islamic groups among the African American community, including the Nation of Islam. Next point, Noble Drew Ali.
Hold on, let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Right. So, the Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam in America, a nation of beauty and peace. And this is from NOI.org. On July the 4th, the day of America's independence celebration, he announced the beginning of his mission, which was to restore and to resurrect his lost and found people who were identified as the original members of the tribe of Shabazz from the last nation of Asia. The lost people of the original nation of African descent were captured, exploited, and dehumanized to serve as servitude slaves of America for over 3 centuries. His mission was to teach the downtrodden and defenseless black people a thorough knowledge of God and of themselves, and to put them on the road to self-independence with a superior culture and higher civilization than they had previously experienced. He taught us the ways of love and peace, of truth and beauty. We are being led into the path of a new spiritual culture and civilization of complete harmony and peace, one of refinement in the pursuit of happiness and eternal joy in the supreme knowledge of God and the science of everything in life. In 1931, the Master was preaching this great truth of salvation when he met a man named Elijah Poole in Detroit, Michigan. So the NOI acknowledges, right, that there is a man by the name of Elijah Poole that was one of the founding members of the Nation of Islam, right? So now, that was an excerpt from NOI.org. So this is an excerpt now from Mooresgate.com. Elijah Muhammad, aka Robert Poole Bey, knew about the Moors as he was a nationality card-carrying Moor himself, and Minister Louis Farrakhan knows about the Moors. This is validated by a speech made by Louis Farrakhan in 2003. It is as follows. Before Elijah Muhammad, you looked at yourself as a Negro. One of our most wonderful black organizations was the United Negro Improvement Association, which showed that we still had growing to do. What a wonderful, wonderful teacher Marcus Mosiah Garvey was. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved and admired him. Noble Jew Ali is the father of what you call the Moorish Americans, or the Moorish scientists. Noble Jew Ali was honored by Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he said that Noble Jew Ali gave us a start in the direction toward Islam. The Moorish brothers wore fezzes with the crescent and the tassels swinging freely, and they wore the name Bey or El. Excerpt from a message delivered by Minister Louis Farrakhan, July 27, 2003.
I didn't hear quite what you said. I know you said the tassel swinging freely. What was the other thing?
And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. The Moorish brothers wore fezzes with the crescent and the tassels swinging freely, and they wore the name Bey or El. Right? So this is Louis Farrakhan talking about Elijah Muhammad, and the fact that Elijah Muhammad said that the Nation of Islam honors and admires Noble Jew Ali because he is the one that started them on their push toward Islam. Verifying it. This is not what I say. This is Louis Farrakhan. But you don't hear NY talk about nationality and birthrights. How come they don't talk about nationality and birthrights? Because if they're supposed to be putting on the Islam that Noble Jew Ali brought, that's I self-law and master. That's not Islam.
Anything beyond that is treason.
Anything beyond that is treason. Because this is the prophet that we're talking about. The prophet. Noble Jew Ali, who Moors are going to say that he got that noble title because he was a black Shriner. And that's how he got the noble title. Fraud. Moors and fezzes are going to talk about that. Just like Sis was saying. What was it again that he said? The tassels and what? Crescents on the fezzes. Just like this guy right here. Crescents on the fezzes. Black Masons.
What are you saying? You're saying
That the head of the Nation of Islam, before he became the Nation of Islam head, he was a Shriner, a black Shriner, that people misinterpret as Moors.
What's a Shriner?
Noble Jew Ali, I'm going to answer that question too. Noble Jew Ali spoke in code in his literature. That's why he said, that's why Noble Jew Ali said, everything that I say is spirit, you Moors better heed what I say. Because everything that I say is spirit. So don't look at anything that I say just as face value. Right? Noble Jew Ali said, Moors, don't mark your fezzes. So anytime you see a fez that has marking on it, fraud. But the Prophet said, don't mark your fez. Because he was making a distinction between who the Moors were and who these black Masons were. Who were Shriners. That's why they wear the crescent on their fez with the swinging tassel, just like Farrakhan's talking about. And then there's the picture of Elijah Muhammad wearing a fez with a crescent on it. And then to back that up, there's the black Shriners right there, right? And they're wearing their crescent on their fez. And Noble Drew Ali said, don't mark your fez. So those aren't Moors right there. Those are black Masons. They don't have nothing to do with Moors. Absolutely nothing. No relation. So people talking about Noble Drew Ali was a Mason don't even go on those talks. The Moor system, exactly.
Taken as their own and then called us as a fraud.
Right.
That's snake.
Tables turn right now, though.
Snake.
But this has been the underpinning of it all. And taking us and our system, your system, and then taking it as our own.
Yeah.
As their own.
As their own. And using it against us.
And then saying that what we're doing is fraud.
Exactly.
As we talked about in Sunday's class too, there's a counterfeit spirit. So the people taking that stuff and twisting it into a fraud version originally and continue to be are just a conglomeration. They're originally Moors who went a different way with things. And so even now they have a very deep connection and a very close link with European European Masonic groups. Black Masons, right? Like these guys, and then leaders, so-called black leaders and church leaders
that are black Masons.
I thought that, you see, I got enough because my next was when you're talking about the counterfeit spirit. You're talking about that reflection.
Yeah, from ancient times.
Right.
Back
Right.
to Africa, where shipwrights had felt that there's that counterfeit spirit from the African side of things.
Yeah, but he said he felt it more in abundance there, but it's here. Right? And I'm saying like it's a continuation from ancient times. Just there was no like group of brothers who got captured and got forced in or got encouraged into becoming frauds and black Masons and Negroes and they're ready. They're waiting like, okay, let's do this.
A system that was already in place.
Right. From Rome.
Yeah. That system is still stolen from our system. Right?
And yeah, that's my point. Like it's just a continuation, right? Yeah, man. It's a continuum.
And remember where we're going right now is based on common knowledge about Noble Drew Ali that Negroes, blacks, and colors refuse to accept. And we have to stop there to, bring people up to speed as to why certain statements are being made, right? Because the objective of more science, as we talked about during the Black Issue Month display, was that it's our authority. Like, we have to be the ones to say something. Because if we don't say something, being that we're the heirs of the North Gate, and we're the true rulers of this land, if we're not the ones saying something, then the only other person that's left to talk is a foreigner. Because everybody else is stateless, if they're not saying there are more. Right? So, the brother was asking about, well, what's a Shriner? Right? Now, don't forget, all this is from just common knowledge. Like, you just punch in Noble Drew Ali on the internet, and some stuff will come up. And then you're just doing research. Right? So we went and did some of the research. Based on these points, what was the one that you read there? The last one that you read. This one there, yeah. Right, so following the inexplicable death of Noble Drew Ali, the Moor Science Temple continued and gave rise to unique Islamic groups among the African American community, including the Nation of Islam. Right? So you're going to look up Nation of Islam, and then you're going to see that picture with Elijah Muhammad with his fez on, and then it's going to have a crescent on it, and they're going to say, I say yourself, you know what, well, you know, this guy's the founder of Nation of Islam, then why is, oh, he's probably more, because, you know, he's a brother, so, you know, why would he be a Mason, right? Not knowing that Black Masons is like the sub lodge of the lodge. You know what I mean? Like, it's a double secret to be a Black Mason. You know, even though Shaq's gonna come on national TV and show off his Masonic ring or whatever, right? You know, he's like a puppet to make people just think that, yo, celebrities are in on it. You know what I mean? But the Black Mason perspective is to bury the Moorish perspective, which is the foundation of quote unquote Masonry. You know what I mean? So if
they're trying to sever the connection.
They're trying to sever the connection so they can be down with the Black Mason thing, opposed to just taking off the diamonds and the glitter off your fez and just be a Moor. Be what you are naturally. And all right. So leading right to here. So these guys take an oath now. Right? So when you go join, you have to take an oath. This might not be the oath that all of them take, but it's along these lines is the oath that they take when they go join this. Right? By the existence of Allah and the creed of Muhammad, by the legendary sanctity of our tabernacle at Mecca, we greet you. The inductees then swear on the Bible and the Quran in the name of Muhammad and invoke Masonry's usual gruesome penalties upon themselves. I do hereby upon this Bible and on the mysterious legend of the Quran and its dedication to the Mohammedan faith, promise and swear and vow that I will never reveal any secret part or portion whatsoever of the ceremonies, and now upon this sacred book, by the sincerity of a Muslim's oath, I here register this irrevocable vow, in willful violation whereof I may occur the faithful penalty of having my eyeballs pierced to the center with a three-edged blade, my feet flayed, and I be forced to walk the hot sands upon the sterile shores of the Red Sea until the flaming sun shall strike me with livid plague, and may Allah, the God of Arab, Muslim, and Mohammedan, the God of our fathers, support me to the entire fulfillment of the same. Amen, 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 amen. So, how is it that, and that's from excerpt from The Origins and Influence of Masonry by Lee Penn, Leepenn, The Origins and Influence of Masonry. Right? So that's the oath that they take. Never to reveal this secret. Right? Never to reveal the secret of the North Gate. The secret that it's a Moorish foundation that everything's built on. That's the secret. Everything has to do with the Moors, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it Christopher Columbus discovered America? It has to do with the Moors, because the Moors were the ones that were on the ships. Right? Like, everything.
This is the very basis of their group is to discredit, to ignore the Moors' foundation.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the main goal.
And if they don't do that,
then they can be killed, basically.
they will have their eyeballs pierced to the center with a three-edged blade, and their feet flayed, and be forced to walk the hot sands upon the sterile shores of the Red Sea until the flaming sun shall strike him with a livid plague. That's what he's going to get if he doesn't zip the lips about the prophet. and Noble Drew Ali and the Mandate and Washita Moores and Turner is really Tanika and Washington is really Washita and everything has to do with the Moors. As far as the foundation of people say, oh yeah, the system, Big Brother's watching you or whatever. Like they're not even Big Brothers. Like they're Little Brother.
Carrying a big stick.
Little Brother could get his big stick taken.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Alhambra. The name of this shrine or temple was the fortress of the Moorish kings in 13th, 14th century. The Moors were Muslims from North Africa who conquered the Iberian Peninsula in the 8th century. Islam is very much a part of the Templar equation, whether in Europe or Middle East. The fact that the order's first master, Higgs the Payan, was of Moorish origin and of Islamic royal descent has never before been disclosed until now. So this is about the Knights Templar. Moorish Spain is very much part of the Templar roots, but the Christian hierarchy in Rome made sure that this fact, one of the many linking the order with Islam, was suppressed for obvious religious reasons. The influence that Islamic Spain had over France and Sicily is often ignored. The fact that Cordoba, the capital of Moorish Spain, was a center of excellence of knowledge, religious understanding, and toleration, and the literary center of Europe for many years, has been suppressed by the Catholic Church. The truth, however, is that till the rise of Islam in Spain, Europe was in the throes of a cultural and spiritual dark age. Had it not been for the Islamic influence in Spain, the medieval concept of chivalry would never have emerged and the ideas of European Renaissance would have come to nothing. Just because of the Moors. Just because of the Moors. Nobody else. Because of the Moors. Not because of black people. Not because of African people. Not because of Jamaicans or Trinidadians or Arawaks or Caribs or Cherokees or Chippewa or Washita or the Moors. And Noble Drew Ali's Washita. And he didn't come and say, I'm Washita. It doesn't matter. That's the tribe that I belong to. But I'm a Moor. Right? And in regard to Noble, Noble Drew Ali got the name Noble because Ali means noble. There's nothing to do with masonry. And Shriners gave him that title because they're called the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. So they gave Noble Drew Ali that name because he wore a fez. You're an idiot. Like, why? Why would he? Why would I be the prophet and go join a lodge? To do what? To talk what with who in there? The Moorish Science Temple is the foundation of Islam in America. Shiite and Sunni and Sufi Muslims know that. They're not going to tell black people because that's an international war crime. You can't talk to stateless people if you're from another nation. Right? And all these stateless people out here, they want to pick up their nationality that their prophet Noble Drew Ali brought for them. Because they think Arabs are Muslims and Muslims are, Arabs and they ride camels and that has nothing to do with you.
I think it's deeper than that. In terms of
But that's what I'm saying. If on that simple of a level, they're not going to get it. That's why Noble Drew Ali said, what do you want me to do? Kill you? Like, what do you really want me to do? I brought you everything that it takes to save a nation. Now save yourself. You don't save yourself. You want me to kill you? Like, that's not going to save you. Because he's going to kill you as a Negro. You're dead already. You know? At least if you nationalize, you die with some pride. Die with a name. Instead of just non-entity. Because this is a divine and national movement. So because he's the prophet and he said it's a divine and national movement, then divine and national is happening all the time, every day, all day, and you can't do anything about it. Because that's how it is. So either you're going to be divine and national, or you're going to be ground to powder. So this ball rolling downhill is not stopping to let you get yourself together.
Well, you see, I have been thinking about that today as well. I thought to myself, every one of us should want to be nationalized. Mm-hmm. But what I've realized is that some of the people who are within the confines of this corporate structure, as long as they're driving around in their cars and have their homes, and nothing's affecting them, that is part of what I call the system, which, as long as you're playing kowtowing to it, for a lot of these guys, if they got their mid-management job and their wife and they got their thing, they think things are all right. Yeah, they're complacent. Well, yeah, I mean, to me, they don't understand the true nature of what's happening, but I mean, they have got what I would think in the lower spiritual self is what we're all supposed to be trying to attain, right?
But that's why many are called, chosen, or few. And that's why we keep classes small. And we don't want 50 people up in here.
Yeah, but I mean,
because it's going to amount to nothing.
Well, and I agree with that. But that's where, I mean, I get torn because sometimes I want to talk to people and I think, I don't know who these people are. Let's say out there on the streets. Yeah. I don't know if I should be talking to them about this.
That's the best people to talk to, because don't think you're going to go talk to some of these heads of, like, you're not going to go talk to these people.
No, but I'm saying,
and try to convince them to nationalize. Like, think about it. You're not going to go to the head and tell the head person, well, you know what, this is the way to do it, and then he's going to tell the congregation because he's honorable.
It's more of a virus. I go around and I touch someone and they become
right. So that's why you have to go tell anybody, regardless how they take it. They get mad. They can never talk to you ever again because you told them this. Oh well.
No, part of where my worrying is too is about the structure that's out there. You know, I don't know what their reaction is. You know, we've talked about some of the stuff with, you know, interacting with the security forces. Yeah. You know, you start spouting this stuff. I think to myself, hey, maybe you want to be quiet. The wrong people hear you talking like this. You become then an enemy of the state. Now, I've talked to some of our brothers here who are happy to go inside and do that battle.
Exactly.
I feel I got more work to do out here.
Right.
That maybe that's a coward way out too. That's where some of my sort of ideologies as well as sort of my mandates. Yeah. I'm wanting to understand how the practicalities, the practical things. You know, because what I realize is either this is all a facade, right? Because I was watching that same nigger industry thing where it was talking about that if you were to look in your closet and look for every one of the sort of pseudo religions that you decided was important, you was likening it to some idol, because you open the closet door and everything would fall out. Either this is that, right? Yeah. Or this is it. Yeah. And then everything else he's talking about then has to be true. Right. Which then means, hey, they've got the King Alfred plan in effect. They've got brothers locked up right now for talking the truth. Yeah. But that's where I say, if I turn to the next guy in the street, I mean, even some of my coworker at work, I'm like, hey, they've got us as slaves here. Yeah. Then I want to expound on that. I say, you know what? Maybe it's best I keep my mouth shut, because if I'm still looking for some of this fiat, right? Just 2 days ago, last week was the first time I scribbled in tiny of all ranks reserved. Yeah. And the man turned the check out because I get him to cash the check, and I saw him looking. I said, oh shit. You know what I mean? I might have to start explaining this, right? But that's where you have to be grounded
Right.
Yeah.
in your knowledge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Study.
Study, yeah.
Study.
Yeah.
Because until it's because when it becomes when it just becomes
Well, but that's where I say, hey, then I got to give everything else up because I'm jumping in with 2 feet, right? Because
jumping in terms of studying when you can study, like you don't.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's where I guess we'll get to it right to it. That's where I'm torn because it's like knowing that there's this doorway here to this new thing, but sort of being still halfway outside, having to sort of back yourself up, back up what you're doing.
Can I ask you? Can I just ask you? You mentioned that if you jump in with both feet, then you have to give something up. What do you think that you have to give up?
No, I don't mean give it. Well, actually, that's a good. I'm not saying give. Well, actually, I guess I am. I guess what it is still needing more, needing to continue to study, so that I'm not giving anything up. Right? But that's where I would, I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort. Hey, if I go to war with my boss, and he says, "I want you out of here because of your beliefs,"
It's
Well,
like
he can't do that. That's against the law, right?
it's like
which law?
Yeah, like okay,
Right?
So it's
I mean,
like,
and they can fire you for any reason too. Anyways, let's.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? I just know that I need to do more study. That's all.
That's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? But it's for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not for others or because it's your stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's
You know,
not,
like
of
that's the mindset that it's yours. So you were saying about giving up something, right?
Well, you're actually getting something.
Right. You're
actually
getting more
getting
than you
everything.
can give.
I agree with that.
Exactly.
No, I guess.
But still,
So let me just
in order to get
letting go of this rope
Mm-hmm.
to grab onto this ladder
right,
that's going up top,
Right.
and it's that in between space
Right.
that I am. That's what I've been trying to get to. It's that in between
Right.
space where I'm like, okay, I got to just let go.
right,
That's right.
Right? But they ask you to do this with a lot. They've asked me to do this in my life and all of us.
Yeah.
There are lots of things
Yeah.
that have continually been bullshit.
yes,
Right? No, but
Yeah.
I went and converted and became a Roman Catholic. And at the end of it, I realized,
what did I do?
yeah, but I spent 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, as I said, all of the stuff he's talking about is like, yeah, I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
But I'm 40.
Yeah.
It's taking me this long.
Yes.
My mother's supposed to be a well-educated person, and I heard nothing from her about this, right? And she's supposed to be into, quote unquote, a black history sort of whatever. I don't even want to use that term, but so yeah, it's just that letting go.
That's all, yeah.
But like that's where the project comes in, right? He said, "I gave you everything you need," and he said, increase your faithfulness to me. Like he laid out things that sort of would answer your questions when you're in time of trouble, like in that space that you said. You know what I mean? So he has all these oral statements. He has his prophecies.
I'll
This
tell
is
you
Circle 7.
what's been, those videos that I've gotten from your son have been absolutely incredible to continue to ground me back.
That's all it's about, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that what it's now is trying to get out into those libraries. I'm trying to get out into those libraries, though I don't know. I think the libraries are just. I mean, if you told me there's a bookstore right, that I need to start going to, I mean, even that's taking fiat now that you think is. You know what I'm saying? I know that it's going to come, but that's what I'm saying. When it's like, as I said, it's like someone's saying, okay, go down that path, take a right there, and you're going to reach paradise.
Yeah.
And then, actually, you're going to have to. You may have to buy a car or a vehicle to get in there to go down that road. Right. You might have to get some camping gear, right? So, and then so fine. But I hope, it's just like when I became you have to do this, you have to pay for this, right? And then I got myself a bunch of lies.
Yeah. But that's the game.
I agree.
That's the game. And again, it's
I'm
like,
up for the fight. I'm just.
Yeah. It's when we get on this side, of the information, right? And you start digesting it,
right?
And realizing that, for real, how come I never heard about this before? Yeah. Even that brings it back, right? Common knowledge, like this is common knowledge that you can just go on the internet. There's a lot more. There's just a common knowledge that you can just go on the internet and get. that's actually like legit information.
And I agree with that, but here's where I've been anti-computer since the start of this, so I know that's a problem too, because remember we had this discussion, what about the day they shut this down?
Yeah, well, if they shut it, it's theirs. If they shut it down, they shut it down.
I know, but where do I then go for the information if I want to go about it?
And at that point, you go into your cellular memory, because that's the only place that the information is going to be if we don't have anything to get information from other than each other. And if we're not around each other, then you're going to have to get the information from somewhere. You're going to have to open yourself up, let God manifest. You know what I mean? Let the higher you do what's supposed to get done.
I was just telling a sister here, I had the same beliefs I was talking about vampires from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been laid out that this is what they're doing, right? They're sucking our energy, right? So, I mean, I don't need to hear his name attached to it to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm just glad there's some people who want to do something about it.
Well, you know, the Constitution, we the people. That's what it's about.
I mean, there's a whole set of lies that they put on top of that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's why, you know, Durali said change the literature. You know, and remember too that, you know, even us, like we're looking at as a perspective, but from 2000, you know, 2000, for me, 2006, 2007, when I started getting into the Moorish information, right? For some people, last week, just heard about the Prophet. And then he's been around since 1913, before all these other organizations that, just like you're saying, you go and you belong to, and you think that, oh yeah, this is the thing, you know what I mean, right? People are going to say, oh, well, you can't say that because, you know, whatever predates, you know, Noble Drew Ali. No, it doesn't, because he's a Moor, and nothing doesn't predate the Moors. Moors enforce everything. So what he's connecting to isn't just 1913, and from there, he's going like ancient times. He's telling you about Canaanites and Hittites and Moabites and all this stuff.
He's just a signpost,
right?
Not in that sense.
Yeah, but literally that's what he is. Signpost.
Of course.
So read the sign and to get the stepping.
Get on the bus.
You know what I mean? When you sitting down here wanting to debate, well, you know, the signpost is tilted this way, so we really don't know what's. What do you mean, yo?
It's not level.
It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, the only reason I bring that up is because there are lots of signposts out there.
Yeah.
And if you follow them, all of those other ones, they've been wrong.
But like,
right?
did you follow them?
Huh?
Black or white? Huh? Arguing over if the post is black or white.
No, I'm saying that there's been a lot of other signposts out there.
No, but that's what you said. That's how the signpost is there. Because there's a signpost, and he's at the signpost, and then we're arguing, and then he puts up a signpost.
Right.
And then I don't like his signpost, so I'm going to put up my signpost.
Yeah.
Then now 2 more people come in. Everybody doesn't like none of these 3 signposts, right? For whatever reason.
Right.
And then now there's 500 million signposts.
Yeah.
And sincere people come now, and they're like,
confused.
what the hell's going on here? You know what I mean? How come I heard about Noble Drew Ali today, and then tomorrow I find out that it's Moors that killed him? Like, what is this? Right? And then that's where it comes into, you know, you have to do it for yourself. You can't rely on the outside information anymore. Right? Because we followed all those signposts and they led to nowhere. And majority of the time, it's somebody else that told me follow that signpost. It wasn't me.
That's right.
Whether I read it from somewhere, it's somebody else's thing. It's not me because I read it. All I know is what I put out there. But as far as what I ingest, none of it's mine. Because it's out. You know, like if I write this something on a paper, and okay, I move my pen off the page, now that's the page stuff.
Yeah.
The page owns that.
Yeah, but if what you sit down there is true, then that's great. That's what I need to hear.
But you know, in the writings, Noble Drew Ali talks about that there's schemers and there's frauds and false prophets and people claiming to be prophets when they're not really prophets and all that. Like he said that before he died, and then there's people claiming to be prophet, which means that you're a false prophet. Because if you're not the one and you're claiming to be the one, then you're a fraud. With a fez and a crest on. But don't want to talk about morals. But then they're not going to talk about Shriners and Masons either. Right? Because they're caught, because the black Masons are caught in a trap. Because how the Europeans set it up is that they're pushing out there that Masons are these evil people trying to take over the world, and they have this symbol that's like this with the eye on it. And then when you go into the lodge, it's 50 feet underground, and they have coffins down there, and pentagrams, and pentagrams are Morris star. Like, what are you talking about? And if they have a Morris star in a circle on the ground, you don't know if it's right side up or upside down or which way it's supposed to be facing. Not because you look at it on the ground from goat head position. So what about the guy who's on the other end of the circle? What's he looking at? He's looking at a right side star up. And then the other guy's looking at it, and then they're saying that, yeah, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And then people are going to buy that. That they're going to show you a picture of me and him, and then two more people lying down on a board. And then and then we're chained together. And then there's like a, bed, and then there's four next people on top of that, and they're chained together. And then there's a next thing, and then all these things are lined up, and then it's on a slave ship, and that's how they brought everybody here. What are you talking about? They just chained people up side by side, lying down, and brought them here. Millions of people.
No evidence, and everyone bought
and everybody bought that.
And not one piece of fact or evidence was ever entered into.
Right?
Nothing.
And common knowledge about Noble Drew Ali, they don't want to accept. Common knowledge that everybody knows. They don't want to accept that you can actually go research and actually get some facts, get some names, put stuff together and be like, okay, this source says this source says this, okay, whatever, blah, bam. But black slavery and, Islamic nations, and nobody's not checking that stuff out. They're just going to go with it. Oh yeah, well, they say that, it's the nation of Islam, so that means it's an Islamic nation. Well, not really. It doesn't really go like that. Even if you have a banner, because banner is not a flag, so don't get that messed up. Because you have a banner, you think that you have a flag, and then you're running around there parading, not knowing that the only way that they're letting you do that is because you're an economic base for them.
Ignorance is a food source. That's what the man said. It's true.
That's the only reason why you're getting away with kill cracker and nobody's not coming and kicking your ass. Because you guys aren't doing nothing. Like somebody's gonna say, kill the cracker. You know what I mean? That police officer, you know what I mean? And then they'll all be lined up or whatever. Yeah, fuck you, police officer, you punk, whatever. Well, what happened to kill the cracker?
Yeah.
Like, well, are you guys just nothing? It's just like the plantation.
Yeah.
It's just like the plantation. The overseer, you know what I mean, gets to just whip this guy in front of everybody, and everybody's just standing there looking. You know what I mean? Some people are crying. Some people are freaking cursing at him. You know what I mean? They're getting pulled over, getting whipped on the next side. You know what I mean? And everybody's just looking and watching. And that's a real story. Like nobody got mad. Just like the thing when they pulled the kidnapping the youth.
Oh,
and then everybody's watching.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have this thing where they set up this bystander effect test or whatever.
Yeah, to see
if somebody. So they took this girl, you know what I mean, and had a man just walking with her, and she's like screaming, "This is not my dad! This is not my dad!" Everybody's just.
But I mean, that speaks to what? Like,
That speaks to what is going on right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Where people
You're not
at,
telling me
right?
anything else.
But then what was crazy in it was that there was two brothers now
Mm-hmm.
that come from, you know, baggy pants and, you know what I mean,
Right.
braids or whatever. Those are the guys that did something. And it was a little European girl. Right? You know,
Four guys.
it's like,
Two more, and another
Like
Latin, Latino.
and more still,
And
you
then
know.
there are more
Yeah.
too, but
Yeah.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
They came in.
Just to show you
you know what I mean?
different.
Just to show you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's the humanitarian?
Mm-hmm.
And who's the real, you know, counterfeit spirit? Right? Who's the natural person and who's the straw man? Because everything's related. Who's on their spiritual self? Who's on their lower self? Elijah Bay is the national. Elijah Muhammad is the straw man. And Elijah Muhammad is the one that he took and attached to the Nation of Islam, which is another corporation, and then went around the world. You know what I mean? Sold. Don't get me wrong, same thing Noble Drew Ali did. Because Noble Drew Ali is a corporation, right, that you could use to go around the world because his real name is Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali. And he's not going to put Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali on the Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated. Why would you put your free name on something that's attached to some paper when the name's free? Right? Vatican did it, but everybody did it because Noble Drew Ali did it. And nobody wants to give him his props, but they want to get all the props in the world. You know, that they're the banksters and the international banksters, and we run the UN and we own the Congress and whatever. When you have any authority, you're out of your jurisdiction. And the only way that you're able to do that is because Negro, blacks, and coloreds don't want to proclaim their nationality and start demanding that, yo, you guys have to start paying your taxes again.
So in other words, letting them do that, right?
You know,
Letting them do that.
letting them.
The people, we the people.
We the
letting
people.
them do that.
Who founded this great republic are letting foreigners come into our land and do whatever it is that they want. Not because they want to do that, because we're letting them do that.
And then even the de facto pressures that are put on you, we're given a remedy by the Prophet, by him going into those made up jurisdictions which we got caught up in and creating Noble Drew Ali, the corporate entity, and the juridical, prophetic, encompasses everything, and then the MSTA as the organizational front, and then setting that up so that we didn't have to do that, so that we don't have to worry about those pressures, and then man are gonna come and set up other ones, right, that can't as effectively deal with those pressures as what Drew Ali did set up, and sway people from him when he came to relieve all those pressures, everything, not just some things, not just this, not just, you know what I mean, not just that feeling of being able to sing a hymn, with your brothers and sisters in the temple and then go home. Every pressure, right, and uncontested too. Nobody said, "Oh, Drew Ali, you can't call yourself a prophet." Nobody said that. Nobody said, "Drew Ali, you can't be a juridical person." Nobody said, "Drew Ali, you can't incorporate." Nobody said, "Drew Ali, you can't be Drew Ali." Nobody said, "Drew Ali, you can't preach to these people." Like, nobody in the entire world, and he traveled the world. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like airplanes were just invented, but he traveled the world. He knew heads of state. He knew all kinds of people. Nobody told him, "Yo, don't do this. Or that you can't do this, or that you're out of your, you know what I mean? You don't have the jurisdiction."
And speaking about that, so common knowledge about Noble Drew Ali that blacks, Negroes, and colors refuse to accept. Noble Drew Ali was 5 times greater than the last prophets before him. He is the last avatar sent to warn the nations of the earth. Noble Drew Ali restored the Moorish Americans as a new nation and sovereign power at the 1928 Pan American Conference for Indigenous Nations. Also in attendance was several tribal chiefs of continental nations, and the United States were represented by Secretary of State Hughes, who was in awe of the well-established constitution of the Moorish American delegates. During the conference, Noble Drew Ali was given the mandate for the land, which the United States has been occupying on an expired mandate since 1871. After this Pan-American Conference, the human nations of the United States refused to yield hallowed soil would result in severe warning by the Holy Prophet. Until my Moors are free in their own home, the worst is yet to come. The United States owes the Moors a great debt. They must pay in compound interest. The United States have one more war to win. Negroes, blacks, and colored denounce the prophethood of Noble Drew Ali. And it's just a repetitive theme. Chapter 48, the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days there came a forerunner of Jesus, who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. So, why would Noble Drew Ali talk about Marcus Garvey if you didn't know him? Right? Like, why would he mention this person's name in such high esteem? Like, he's the forerunner of the prophet. Right? The prophet is saying that Marcus Garvey is the forerunner, that he's going to come and stir up the people to get them ready to receive their prophet. And you don't hear UNIA people talking about Noble Drew Ali. You don't hear people who talk about Marcus Garvey talk about Noble Drew Ali, like the diehard, the Garvey idols. They don't talk about the prophet. They don't talk about proclaiming their nationality. Let me go to the Moorish Science Temple because, if Noble Drew Ali said the Garvey's forerunner of the Moorish movement, and I'm a Garveyite, it's only logical to, at least go ask a question, at least go get a circle 7, something, with regard to the prophet. Right?
And just a note about that picture, like, that's Drew Ali beside Garvey in the parade. And then in 2 front seats, there's 2 more brothers in uniform. But Garvey's, the prophet's in a suit and a top hat. Since when do military people just sit, all military people, with civilians beside them? Unless that person has a certain title. Like, this is clear here. Like, Drew Ali's dressed in a suit, a nice suit, and then Garvey's dressed in a nice uniform. That's clearly like the president, right, the chief, and the admiral. But people are gonna look at it was what do they call it? Garvey Day?
Or convention.
That was the
Garvey
Garvey
convention.
convention.
Garvey Convention. Yeah, that was the name of the event, but
The Biggerton one.
the British like he's military. You can't just sit beside him at an official function when he's in his uniform, unless you're somebody. Like you have to be somebody,
That'll be somebody.
right? But people just some dude, right? Like it's like as if Drew Ali is his bodyguard. Who's that dude? Oh, he must be the bodyguard of the general. Like the general needs a bodyguard who's dressed in a suit while he's in his uniform. And he has two other uniformed men in the front seat.
Most popular Garvey picture.
Most popular Garvey picture. Right? That's something right there. So Noble Drew Ali is not a Mason, right? So we have this one right here now. So this is the next picture that they use to say that Noble Drew Ali is a Mason. They're always standing up like a Mason, right? But the reality that Stalin and George Washington, right? Now the Masonic pose is what the Europeans are doing, where the hand is hidden, because the name of the pose is Hidden Hand, right? And when somebody's hiding their hand, you already know what they're about. You don't even have to question, right? Because Noble Drew Ali did things in code. He's not standing like this for us to think that he's a Mason. When the Mason has his hand inside the thing, in all their pictures, like this is just two. You just go look, hidden hand, Masonic hand gesture, or whatever on the internet, and it'll just give you stuff. Just pictures, these guys just with their hand in the thing. Right? Because it's at that time, remember they're trying, like what Granada was to Spain before the Inquisition and all that is what Noble Drew Ali was to America. The Americas, as a matter of fact.
So say that again.
What Granada was in Spain, the stronghold, the last stronghold that the Europeans had to topple in order to claim Spain, in order to claim, is what Noble Drew Ali is to the Americas, and the fall of the Americas from 1492 till what we're going through right now, right? And then starting with the Treaty of Verona.
But Drew Ali already said that he already won. He already claimed it. Just by the information he put out and knowing that generations would come and fulfill his law. There's one of his quotes is that you got me 2,000 years ago, but I got you this time. Right? So he I mean, as arrogant as it might seem, he knew that he did enough. He did the right things that would set in motion the rebirth and the rise of the.
Okay, I think I missed something too, so this may help me. This Treaty of Verona.
So
Can you give me a quick?
the Treaty of Verona is basically the Treaty of Verona is the contract between two European nations to start getting rid of all the republics on the planet. Because the Republican government is the government of the people that elect representatives. Right? So once they started toppling that, right? Now, because of the impact of the Iroquois nations and the confederation of Aboriginal indigenous people, right, who already had a government set up here when the Europeans came here, right? Because of them and the Europeans meshing, right?
That was again, sorry, there was 35 Moors and 20 Europeans.
Europeans, right?
35 and 20.
35 and 20. Right? So the 35 Moors were like indigenous, right? As well as indigenous who had to, because they had to kind of denationalize themselves in order to engage with the foreigner. They couldn't deal with them in their natural self, right? So they had to they had to become lower to deal with them, right?
That's been the basis of it.
And but how they got lower is by teaching the European. And the places that they taught the European is called lodges. So when they talk about the Masons and the lodge isn't their stuff. That was their school that they took over. That was where they went to school. That's not what they founded. Like when they say, yeah, the lodge of Yale University, like that's not their thing. That was the chambers where the Moors used to teach them. That's why they had them wear the fez, and they tacked down their tassel, and they marked their fez, so they can be identified as the lower. And then the higher is free to walk on the street with the fez on, and it's not, you know what I mean? People are going to be alarmed.
Do you foresee a day like that? I mean, is that what's
happening right now?
No, I don't.
Yeah, like it's been happening since 1913. Right? So that place where they went to go learn was the lodge. And then the people who, the original people, those are what they call the founding fathers. Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, and you know what I mean? The people that they say, yeah, you know what I mean? Because of these people, and they have President's Day, and they have...
This is where I'm starting to get to my study now. Is that they created the Constitution.
We created the Constitution.
But there's 35 and the 20.
The 20
signed it.
Right.
And there's a body called the Constitution.
Right. And there's a body called the Constitution, which is a contract
between
for them.
Them in our land.
In our land.
That is the basis of everything.
That's the basis of everything, because from that point on, now everybody else started adopting constitutions to bring the republic back. Because remember, we're talking about 1492, the fall, right? Them coming over here, trying to infiltrate, right? Trying to infiltrate and take over. But being the geniuses that we are, in the Constitution that Barack Obama took his oath to, which means that it's still in force today, right, says that this is a Republican form of government. And that Republican form of government doesn't mean Republican and Democrat game that they play and call it politics and parties. That's not what that Republican form of government means. That means government by the people.
Putting on a jacket. They put on a jacket, which is democracy.
Right.
And that's the bullcrap that is running the show.
Right.
And actually, yeah, but they split it up into two warring factions that are for the same cause. Of course, right? Republican and Democrat, but they're both Democratic.
Right. It's like when we go to, like back in the day, right? When you might go to you might just go to a bar one night or whatever, you know what I mean? And two Europeans fighting. Right? What happened when police come?
No one goes to jail.
Yeah.
That's what I know. They talk about it, everyone goes away.
Right.
They usually find some brother to
You know what I mean?
They usually find some brother to
Right.
take him home.
Why? Because they're family.
Um,
They're family. You know, as soon as the police come, they're boys. Like, oh no, that's my, you know, I mean, that's my cousin. We're just drunk, you know. Yeah,
They usually drive one of them home,
Right.
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, or even if they take them to the jail, they just take them there, you know, get some sleep or whatever. You know, I'll drop you back where I picked you up.
Yeah.
Right?
No charge, no
You
it
know,
was a misunderstanding.
there's some brothers getting a fight at a club. See what happens.
That's right.
What's going on here?
There's somebody be on the corner trying to talk. You know, right? But it happens because we're denationalized people, and everybody knows it, so they're taking advantage. You know what I mean? Like Brother Taj said, they're just feeding off the dead carcass. Like the carcass is just there. You know what I mean? Like the more it rots, the better. It's not like it's getting worse as the carcass rots. It's a big carcass, and it's just sitting there rotting. And the leeches and the, you know, the vultures and the maggots and everybody's just like, yeah, it's time. And they come from all over the world, leeching, right? Get everything that they want, go back to where they come from because they have a nationality, right? Like, how come we never get deported to, like, outside of the Americas and the Caribbean when they deport us? Or we're going to deport you to Trinidad. Well, that's South America. Like, what do you mean? Or Jamaica, or wherever, Cuba, or how are you? It's still America. Like, that's not deporting.
Transporting.
You know?
Transporting prison.
Right?
One whole, yeah,
Relocation program. You know? And then because they can't deport anybody, then they just build a jail or a reservation, and they put them on the jail or the reservation, and say now we have you.
Which is a company. It's a factory that makes money for this
Plantation.
It's interesting though because you talk about the people who come here and everybody takes advantage, and you look at the just the institution of the ghetto, and the ghetto was where they put the Jews, quote unquote, were making from Europe. It wasn't for us; it was for them. And now all of a sudden, it's amazing. You look at all of the institutions. I love old movies, so I watch them all. You know what I mean? And you watch any old movie from the 30s and the 40s, prison movies. I love them. They're all right. Everybody, but it just, thank you, darling. In just a few short years, what happened? You know, did black people finally go crazy and start committing all these crimes? And you know, it was just crazy. You know, seriously, you know, like, so you have to look at all of that and look at how they have switched everything. It's like the old switcheroo. You know what I mean? And it is what you guys were talking about earlier. You were talking about, what'd you say? False.
Counterfeit spirits.
Counterfeit spirits. Yeah, this is what it is, you know. And people don't get this. They think, oh no. And like this brother was saying a while ago, as long as I've got my 3 square meals and a halfway decent job, then everything is, you know, business as usual.
Yeah.
But well, if that's,
The fear is
I guess, yeah, exactly, and it is fear. But that's not the way it was supposed to be. You know, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And you know, this movement is about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And there's nothing just about this. You know, there's absolutely nothing just about this. And it's not about supremacy or trying to subordinate someone else. But why are we always on the bottom of the barrel? You know, that's crazy.
Right.
It's true that you look at some of these, you look at everything, and you start to really look at it very like with the microscope. You know, like the fine-tooth comb. The ghetto was never ours. You know, but you mention the word ghetto, you mention the word slave, and the images that come to most people's minds are going to look like us.
Right.
And we were not the slaves, and we were not people of the ghetto. So that's interesting, you know.
Mommy, you just reminded me the Region Park story.
Yes,
That being the first project in North America.
that's right.
And then they have early footage of it. Anyone ever see it?
No.
I think it's Shirley Dynamo or one of them on there who did a Region Park video
Yeah.
about in the ghetto or something like that. And they show it in the video, that old clip. It's like from like a documentary about Region Park.
Yeah.
Oldest ghetto and first project in North America and stuff. And it's all European.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
one more or Negro black.
That's right.
Not one woman.
That's
You're
right.
right. You're right.
That's the way it is, you know, and that's what we have to start looking at, and not just think that this is a status quo, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and you know, let's not rock the boat. Well, was it like that last year, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago? Has it always been like that? And is it always going to be this way or worse? Or are we going to do something about it? You know what I mean?
We've created that paradigm, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's always been like that.
and it hasn't,
It's
and
just a
that's
recent phenomenon.
That's right, but that's what people, the black, the Negro, the colored, think. That it's always, in fact, they think that we've come a long way. So it's a lot better than it used to be.
That's
right.
You know, that's exactly what they think. They
For
think
sure.
we have come a long
Go a
way.
long way.
We
Yeah.
celebrate Black History Month.
We have a black president now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
thinking. You know, that's
Or
the belief.
anything.
You can do
And-
anything.
The Negro, black, colored is a very emotional animal, honest to God. And you can't operate from a position of emotion. It's not about that anymore. It's not about, like somebody was saying earlier, going to church on Sunday and singing hymns and feeling good, and then for the rest of the week, what do you
No,
do?
no hymns.
You know, that doesn't get you anywhere. But and so much of this religion is the biggest prison of all. I think out of all of the institutions, religion has played the worst game on us out of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very, very emotional. People get up in the church and they sing and dance and they get the spirit and all that other stuff. And
people in their
thank you. What do you do at the rest of the week? You know, what do you do the rest of the week?
That's what they do the rest of the consternation.
And many of the churches still have the idol. You know what I mean? That don't look nothing like that.
Michelangelo.
Doesn't look nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's so basic. If you could look at a child and say, okay, does this person look like you? Do you look like this person? And they can tell you no. And they'll be able to see what kind of a difference there is.
Sure.
But we go through this, and we've been going through it for too long, where we've been really immersed in this whole thing, this self-hatred, man. It's horrible. It's really horrible.
But it's induced.
Yeah.
Dude, it's induced. Whether you want to step out of it and be like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
3 more and you pull them back in and be like, no, this is like,
I know.
But self-induced stuff.
those days
Self-induced.
where just you're
By default.
ungrateful or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know how much your ancestors labored for you and
Give you grief, eh?
got
Give you
that.
all kinds of grief.
Yes, I do
Some
know how
people
much,
fall
and
for
that's
that.
why I'm doing what I'm doing. So what's your excuse? You know what I mean?
Straight.
It's
Yeah, in a
terrible.
stuck
Yeah.
state for sure.
And that's the wall of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You know, that they don't wanna accept that, you know what I mean? It's like everybody, it's like the thing with the NY. You
Yeah.
know, like, yo, just proclaim your nationality. Nobody's not saying don't be NY. Nobody's saying don't be Nwapi and don't be Black Power.
Exactly.
Don't be whatever. Just say, yo, proclaim your nationality. That's the order of the day.
Just like the
It's
brother was saying
normal.
early, I'm afraid of what's if I go into 2 feet, what am I going to lose?
Right.
You're not going to lose
You're not
anything.
losing anything.
What do you think you're
You
going
know,
to
like,
lose?
at least you have your nationality now,
Exactly.
even if you lose.
You didn't have none in the first place.
At least-
Yeah, you have nothing
exactly.
to lose.
You know?
What you have to
You
lose
didn't have
anyway.
nothing in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's that whole, well, I know we was free, but I can't let the master, like, what am I gonna do if I leave the plantation?
Yeah. Oh,
Can't fend for myself.
you know, I hate
Yeah.
that.
Or use my freedom. I owe you my life now.
Oh, please.
Yeah, now I got to stay in bondage.
Yeah. But you're talking about being free.
Yeah. Free slave. Free slave.
So this is a book called The Discovery of America, an outgrowth of the conquest of the Moors by the Spaniards. Who's the author? So
It's from the Library of
it was from the taken from the Library of Congress website. So the ill feeling existing between the sultans led to the formation of two factions and terminated in a rebellion during which the streets of Granada flowed with the blood of the Moors. Ferdinand encouraged the feud on behalf of Aixa, and Abu Hassan and his young family were expelled from Granada, and Boabdallah was proclaimed king. Large numbers of troops were now summoned to the seat of war. So large numbers of troops were now summoned to the seat of the war, and vigorous preparations were made for the prosecution of the same. And owing to the internal feuds of the Moors and the imbecility of Boabdallah, Ferdinand was enabled to attack their castles one by one, and by the use of gunpowder and heavy Lombards, the Moorish castles, cities, and vagas fell to the conquering Spaniards. Columbus, after waiting 7 years and suffering great disappointments, succeeded in having his theory discussed at a meeting of prelates and learned men at the convent of St. Stephen's at Salamanca. But his theory of the world's being a sphere was condemned. They ridiculed the theory of antipodes, with their heads hanging downwards, it being contrary to the belief of their theologians and philosophers, and in violation to their sacred scriptures. They argued that if the world was round, then a vessel attempting to make the ascent of the sphere would fall off into space. They also argued that the earth was a flat surface bordered by the waters of the sea, on the yielding support of which rested the crystalline dome of the sky, and the sun, moon, and planets were a subordinate nature, their use being to give light to man who was elevated to supreme importance. The patristic geography had governed the Christian church for 12 centuries and was its authority for rejecting the theory of the sphericity of the earth. Columbus defended his theory nobly and with religious fervor, but the decision was unfavorable to him. The ancient philosophers and astronomers introduced various theories regarding the sphericity of the earth and the manner of its revolution. The heliocentric theory, taught by Pythagoras about 500 years and 50 BC, placed the sun at the center, round which, with the other planets, the earth revolved, in circular orbits, each supposed to rotate on its axis as it revolved around the sun. This theory was accepted by Aristarchus of Samos about 350 years BC and was superseded by the geocentric system of Ptolemy about 150 years AD, which system placed the earth in the center, fixed in space, the sun and other planets revolving around it, thus giving the earth a position of superiority. This theory was accepted by a large portion of the inhabitants of the earth for 14 centuries. No advancement was made toward establishing the theories of the ancients, or the geography of the earth, or the science of astronomy until the advent of Columbus and his discovery of America in 1492, and the circumnavigation of the earth by Magellan in 1521, which proved its sphericity and whose circumference is about 25,000 miles.
Can you please read that last sentence again? No something, something, something from
So
there.
no advancement was made toward establishing the theories of the ancients, or the geography of the earth, or the science of astronomy until the advent of Columbus and his discovery of America in 1492, and the circumnavigation of the earth by Magellan in 1521, which proved its sphericity and circumference is about 25,000 miles.
The church, man, all they did was suppress.
Right. So
They actually told the people, you live on a flat planet.
Yeah.
And they believed it.
yeah.
You know, but we already knew this. You know, they always come with this Greek Pythagoras
Yeah,
and this
yeah,
other
yeah.
guy. We
No, but
already know.
see, the thing is, if you check it though,
originated in Africa. That's what everyone said, you know?
but see, if you check it, it says Pythagoras. So Pythagoras was okay. The ancient philosophers and astronomers introduced various theories regarding the sphericity of the earth and the manner of its revolution. The heliocentric theory, taught by Pythagoras about 550 years BC, placed the sun at the center around which the other planets and the earth revolved. So that's what actually occurs. So Pythagoras, we know, went to Egypt and learned in ancient Kemet. He himself said that. It's not like it's like other people after came and twisted his words and twisted the story. But Pythagoras, it's like if you go to university, you're not gonna bad mind and you're not gonna ignore the fact that you went to that university. Like he gave it up in that time. But after that, now that was 500 BC. Then you had other fellows who came along 150 BC, 150, 350 BC, and then 150 BC. These theory, you can see that theories changed. So you can see where it went from, Semitic or ancient Greek cultures who knew, hey man, I gotta go to the Moors to get the knowledge, and went and got the knowledge, and came back and taught because it was right knowledge. And then from that now to a concept of, well, no, let's not teach right knowledge. Let's teach something so we can control things.
The church,
right?
So now because Noble Drew Ali said, everything I say is spirit, and he told us about Moors. Anything that we read about Moors now, we have to look at spiritually too. We can't just look at face value, what's presented. We have to go deeper, right? So with the cover, it's saying the discovery of America, an outgrowth of the conquest of the Moors by the Spaniards. The Spaniards eventually become the Moors in the Inquisition, because that was the decree that we're going to stop calling them Moors, we're going to call them Spaniards now, in order to put the hex on the Moors, just like saying, Ham is the cursed son.
Yeah, and you're a Negro.
And then you're a Negro. And put the curse on, right? To start the perpetual negative spiral downwards.
That's right.
Right? So it's clear that, even though on the cover of this it says Moors, there's still deception. They're still trying to suppress, really, because they didn't have to mention Pythagoras in there. They could have just left it at when they were talking about the ancient mysteries part. Right? Also wanted to just put on the record, Prophet Drew invited to Canada, and to put some names out there, because there were names that we got out of this article that have a history here, but have a longer history in other jurisdictions of North America other than Canaanland. So it reads, Prophet Drew invited to Canada. So pleased were Dr. Oscar and Madame Bruton of Toronto, Canada, with meeting Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they invited him to Toronto to be their house guest, as long as he would afford to remain. Impressed with the wisdom and possibilities of the Moorish Leaders Program, Dr. Bruton would like to arrange for a series of lectures by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for the benefit of the citizens of Toronto. It is believed the Prophet will act favorable on the distinguished Canadian's invitation. So like we were talking about earlier, Noble Drew Ali was the Moorish statesman.
That's right.
And he went into every jurisdiction as Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? In order to get the message out there. So the name that you're going to look up is Madame Bruton.
How do you spell it?
Madame, M-A-D-A-M-E, Bruton. B-R-E-W-T-O-N.
That name sounds familiar. Is
Yeah.
that taxi people?
No.
No, that's not taxi.
I'm not sure.
Well, we're on the search right now because there's next to none or limited information on who this sister is.
Yeah. And she's a sister that was doing work in Toronto. You know, like I think she founded the first community center for like blacks here, and you know, it was on Young Street.
In and around Regent Park, or something like that.
Somewhere on Young, somewhere down
Around there somewhere.
I used to
I'm
grow
not
up
sure.
there.
Right.
You know
There's
Nelson
some more
Mandela?
here on it too, you know.
You know Nelson Mandela? Yeah, he came to rename our school.
Right. I think I remember that.
there. And then the other name is Dr. Oscar Booton, and there was hardly any information on him.
I got
So-
some right here. Yeah.
Morris could put some work into finding out about Madame Booton and Dr. Oscar Booton.
Does it say when
Yes,
they
These are
invited him?
people in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you guys know that they have an archives center?
yeah.
Would that be a place to go? You think?
Sure, where is it?
Okay, so at DuPont Station, right at DuPont Station, if you head north, they have it's hidden there. It's like right at the foot of Castellone. It's Toronto Archives,
Oh, okay.
That's the spot to go to then,
That's the one then.
right? So
right?
well, I'll do some research to see what the hours are and stuff like that. I figure they're probably going to have some kind of what you would call controlled. Maybe
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Huh?
It's an archive, right?
Well, it should be open, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, like that's the price of wanting to be a civilized society. Like you have to. It's like the Masons. They can't stop wearing the fez. Because if they had ever stopped wearing the fez, somebody would have eventually Moors would have said, "Hold on, I did some digging and I realized that these guys used to wear fezzes." And then, but we were the ones who wore fezzes. And then, hold on, like regardless of whether there's a Juali or not, like Moors someone would have dug it up and realized, hold on, right? So it's like it's all out there, right? Information's all out there. Just doing the work and digging it up.
And doing the work, digging it up, and knowing that there's people on this side trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Right? There's people who are supposed to be for this naturally that are trying to hide it. Right? Saying that to say, just like we were talking about the Madame Booton, right? There was this book put out by Richard R. Edwards L. And it's the Mukarrabin Files, an answer to the 45th question. Right? Now this is just to put it out there. Just like, you know, like we would have Pleasant Bay's book, or, you know, Othello's Children, and we would ask Moors, how much Moors have this book? Like if you're a Moor, you should have this book, because it's a book put out by Moors. Like why would you have Dr. Ben's book and not have Pleasant Bay's book? And you're a Moor with a Moroccan flag, and then you have a, you know, Circle 7 and Fez and nationality card, but you don't have the Mukarrabin Files. So, you know, Moors who are in temples go ask your grand sheiks for this. But this is supposed to be something that's accessible. Right? Like we're in Canaanland, we have it. Moors gave it to us.
Supposed to be the last ones to get it too.
You know what I mean? So like this is not something that was bought. This is what comes with your adepthood. When you come into the temple, there's certain stuff that you're supposed to get. Automatic. Right? So we're just talking about Madame Booton, right? And Noble Juali being invited to come to Toronto, not BC, Calgary, Ottawa, to Toronto, where we're at, right? Now this is an article out of the Moorish Guide. Okay. Moorish Guide. Prominent Canadians attend Elk and National Hairdressers Convention. Dr. Oscar and Madame Leona Booton of Toronto, Canada, attended the Elks Convention. Dr. Booton is prominent in Elkdom in Toronto, also in church and civic work. They remained for the joint convention of the National Hairdressers and Cosmetics League and the National Beauty Culturist League, of which Madame Booton is a prominent member and a tireless worker. Madame Booton is the proprietor of one of the finest beauty shops in Toronto, and like her distinguished husband, have a large and lucrative patronage among Dr. Bruton's old schoolmates who were on hand to greet him and review escapades of their school days at Tuskegee were the following well-known Chicagoans: State Representative George W. Blackwell, Dr. Henry M. Higgins, Mr. Luke Ailman, Dr. Agnes Atman Green, Mr. Chauncey L. Dankins of Kansas City, and Claude D. Green.
And it continues the next. Flip it. No, yeah, right. This stuff.
Okay.
Hard to read out a couple of the words.
Yeah. And Claude D. Green. Continue from page 1. Those in the beauty care business who wanted to must go and see what other fellow is doing.
Is that not it?
And so he does it. Yeah, it is it, but yeah, it cuts off
It's
still.
really kind of hard to
Yeah, it cuts off. But basically, that was you could probably even try to get the paper. It was the Moorish Guide, Friday, September 14th, 1928, Volume 1, Number 3.
But you notice what it said when I was telling it. I recited it wrong because it actually was saying that Dr. Bruton, the man, went to Tuskegee with all those brothers.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So then Oscar Bruton is her brother. That's what it's saying. And we don't have pictures of Madame Bruton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we originally were thinking it's possible that Oscar Bruton was, because she had a name before she married Oscar,
Bruton,
right? And then now she, we assumed that maybe she just came up here and married a European or something like that. But no.
Yeah, if you went to Tuskegee, if you went to Tuskegee, right. Yeah.
I mean, you ain't no.
Yeah, you're a small time.
You're not
like you're prominent, for real.
You're
you went to Tuskegee.
Yeah.
You know?
That same time when right before inventor there, George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
So it's in that same class. Like that's big.
Yeah.
So and then they went to school with some of these, and then they listed some of them, and some of them were Moors.
Yeah, some of those guys.
Some robbed the temple.
Yeah, right.
They just were straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His Dean was up in there.
Yeah. And his wife.
Yeah. Right. So, we have to do what we have to do in regard to, getting the word of the prophet out and just having it out there. Letting people know that it's not fiction. Just like you're saying, well, I did this, should I really go to this Morris thing? I don't know. It's, you don't need to second guess this one. You know what I mean? Should just do like what, I'm going to tell you what the Morris told me. Deal with it yourself. You do the work and see if this is legit. You know what I mean? Because only you have to experience it to know whether this is where you're supposed to be or not.
I don't believe that that is what the issue is. As I said, I think it's being caught changing. I understand that there's going to be some discomfort, if not just it's going to be any change.
Yeah.
Comes with things that are unknown or uncomfortable.
Good. Who else here? Oh yeah, who else? So, also too, Nation of Gods and Earth, right? Like, we're all family. Everybody should proclaim their nationality. everybody should proclaim their Moorish nationality. Nothing's wrong with being, they'll actually be more powerful being a nation of gods on earth that's an L or a B. Because now your nationality is talking for you. Right? It's clearly Circle 7. Like their logo is Circle 7. Whoever drew their logo knew about the Moors and was studying Moor science like real hard and serious. This is the nation of gods and earths. Right? Just Google them. You know, they're scientists too. You know, they deal with facts.
Never heard of them. Yeah, but they sound like they threw out the prophet.
You know what they are? All the Wu-Tang members and the rappers got caught that got up on some science and stuff.
Yeah, like the Know Thyself school that they came through was that. That was their Know Thyself school.
5% concept. 5%. That's another name for that. Who is the brother?
Like prominent, yeah. Prominent. Clarence 13X. You know? And then he was in a large temple. He was in Malcolm X's temple. Yeah. Nazi.
Yeah, that also right.
Yeah. You know, because it was about consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? You know, above anything, you know, the black man is God. Is the talk. You know what I mean? Right? And then their mudra is this. Like, why is your mudra this?
Just the 205.
But, you know what I'm saying? Right? Right? And this is what there's some other, you know, hip hop artists, right? Capone and Noriega, right? And then in the sleeve, right, they have a long picture, right?
Yeah.
With like their whole crew and everybody's posing or whatever, right? And then the lead rapper, he's in the picture doing this. Right, like posing, like everybody's on there, you know what I mean? Like, you know, whatever, and he has his 5 and his 7 up. And then in the credits it talks about, yeah, you know, big up to their, you know, their more, you know, whatever, the more. You know what I mean? So it's not like they don't know. You know what I mean? And some people are taking it as just, you know, some pose thing. You know, for most deaf, you know, I seen they. Officially. You know what I mean?
All these songs go on YouTube and
you know, like official. That, you know what I mean? Forget that black crap. I'm Moorish American. Most deaf.
Not most deaf anymore.
Oh, most is 5%.
No, like go on YouTube. That's what it is. Like just go.
That's like
he says it. I'm not
big thing. You know? Big thing amongst the Moors.
Yeah.
It's not nothing to Negro black color people. Now they think he's a crazy person. Because even though he proclaimed his nationality, they're not running down to the temple. All the most deaf fans. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
He has an album named Casa Bay. Like
yeah.
The whole album is Casa.
From before.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Spraga.
Wow.
Right? Like
Spraga Benz.
More. Saying it. You know what I mean? But I don't see those Spraga Benz fans running down to the temple to go nationalize. Unless they were Moors already. But everybody else, they're just, I guess, you know, this is just a new thing that he's on, you know?
Yeah, he's on
Did he contact you again? You recontact?
You know, a little bit, you know, like a little text or something. You know, we don't like build like that because, you know, what's done's done. Like, what's done now? You know what I mean? Nationalize. You know what I mean? And not nationalize like I'm a temple member. Nationalize like, yo, yeah, I know about my birthright, my nationality. You know? Yeah, I'm Bobo. You know? Yeah, I'm Rasta. You know what I mean? Ja, Rastafari and all that. But you're more. You know, so where's all the other guys? that are on the same frequency as him, right? But they're not running the, you know.
I don't think you could be both.
Yeah, right. You know, Khalid says them more.
Yeah.
They got sense enough to know around more.
Yeah.
I don't see new Black Panther Party running up in the temple, say that they're going to proclaim their nationality. Well, why not? Khalid did it. Malcolm did it. You know, Elijah Muhammad did it. Fard Muhammad did it. Muhammad Ali did it.
You notice all the names?
You know, and look at like Brother Shifter was talking about. Vowels are interchangeable, right?
What are you?
Vowels,
Okay.
right? So Elijah Muhammad, right? Eli is really Ali,
Yeah.
right? So what is the Denzel Washington, this is Washita movie, Book of Eli about? And what's Present Day's new book called? The Book of Ali. Not a Book of Eli. Eli is nobody. Eli is a code name for Ali. You know, hidden in plain sight.
Remember what year that movie came out, The Book of Ali?
That was like
I mean,
the last
Eli?
1 or 2
the
years.
movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
Book of Eli?
Book of Eli. Sorry.
Had me like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
9 or 10.
On 9 or 10.
I remember going to the movies and seeing it.
Right.
Right. And again, you know, they got the Washita more to be the star of the movie.
In 010.
George Washington. I mean, Denzel Washington.
Right? We got the Washita more. Well, you know, but nobody wants to go with that.
How long you seen Pleasant Bay's book out, The Zooming of the Nation? This is volume.
So it's been out for years.
Right.
Years the book's been up. Right?
Trying to find the cover.
You're over talking about it as far as their book of the month or whatever.
No way.
The Oprah Book of the Month.
No, you need to be on the list.
Nomination.
Yes, that and Othello too.
Yeah. You know. But then again, it'll never happen because, you know, Oprah's Oprah, right? And Oprah was the stray sister that didn't go with Ruth and Naomi.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
She's actually, that's her actual name though.
Yeah?
But that's like
No,
who
that's
she
her
is.
real name.
Oprah.
Yeah, that's her real name, and then she just switched it a little bit
Okay.
in her later days.
Oprah's not a name.
No, it's
Yeah.
the corporation.
It's a corporation.
Because the thing is, even if when you see her show and everything, they have to
What's
go
the
for
scripture?
whatever
Yeah.
word she.
And then,
Yeah.
and then her thing is
Yeah.
Harpo.
It's
Her
in the book of Ruth of your Bible.
production company is Harpo.
Yeah,
the book of
Harpo.
Ruth
Yeah,
of
so
your
then
Bible.
she just,
Go look it up.
Yeah.
right? Just,
And
even
then that's
if
why
it's
they got
her
her.
thing,
You know,
it's a different,
Yeah.
different one. She has an add-on to it.
Harpo now.
No,
And that's
it's
why
Harpo
she
before,
never
now
won.
it's own.
Oh, okay.
Or Oprah Winfrey Productions or whatever it is. Oh, network. Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, only. Yeah.
So how is she spelled in the Bible?
O-R.
O-R-P-A-H.
P-A-H. Oprah.
Okay.
Switch the P.
Yeah, you're not from the
She's
Bible.
a Mason.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
She won't do that stuff. She's a Mason. You
Yeah.
won't be against the code.
Yeah.
Right. She's not giving up her checks.
No.
No.
She's not giving up her checks. Although she just got the Whitney's daughter scoop. She gets to do the interview.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, of course.
Yeah, who else? You know what I mean?
Perfectly
Big time.
set up.
Perfectly set up. You know? Everything nice and aligned here, like Kofi says.
Yeah.
Everything aligned. Everything
Her
aligned.
influence is so big that she probably swayed most of the people to if they meant anything, voted for Barack Obama.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
She
Come
was
on.
the deciding factor.
The woman had so much power, it's
Oh.
unbelievable.
He had
But
so many shows on him before he even said on
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
very they knew who he was.
yes, exactly.
If people didn't catch on, she had like about 1 or 2 years before he came on the scene somehow.
That's right.
Interviewing his family, his mom first, his sister first, and everything like that. We didn't know who they were.
And then
Well,
you
she's-
check.
where's her show at?
Yeah,
It's in Mecca.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
She does a
Yeah.
show in Mecca.
there's good Mecca. You know, using that energy. And then also too, don't forget, like all these people, we have to make sure that we don't just go with, you know, the fact that they are prominent, you know, they might be good people or whatever, but you know, how did they get started up or whatever? Who funded them for them to make their first 10 million?
Oh yeah.
You know? And so when you look up Oprah, just look up Hearst Corporation also.
Ah.
You know, and Hearst Corporation is the big dogs that were
Publishing.
backing Oprah
Publishing, yeah.
before you know she boss. You know, before she came that figure.
Randolph Hearst.
Randolph Hearst, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Just like with the Toronto hip hop scene, right? That everybody who's so-called made it, that is the prototype of the Toronto rapper image went to the Fresh Arts program.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Jimmy
you know. But the Fresh Arts program was a grooming program,
Okay, right.
right?
Makes sense.
Because there was other people.
The Portuguese girl.
Yeah.
What's her name again? No. Yeah, Nelly. Yeah.
There was other people that were in Fresh Arts that didn't get any
Yes, yeah, true.
props or anything, like none whatsoever,
None at
you
all.
know. But they were on the conscious way
That's
back
why-
then.
Yeah, true.
Like back then, they were on like conscious. You know what I mean? Like how you would listen to Immortal Technique or whatever right now,
Yeah.
right? You know, like very socially aware about what's going on, but they couldn't let that be, you know, what's coming out. You know what I mean? Just to plug it, you could even just you could YouTube search Brass Tacks, Starpoint Tactics is the name of the song. Yeah, Brass Tacks.
Cardinal.
Yeah,
Cardinal was
Cardinal
Fresh
Arms,
Yeah.
Cardinal
Shot
Fresh
clear.
Arts.
No,
No, Maestro is all the way, yeah.
free. He's just okay.
And then if you're gonna talk about Maestro, because even there was a battle with like between who's gonna be the, you know what I mean, rapper, you know, and it's only because of Farley Flex, right? Because you know back then Farley Flex was the guy, you know, the up and coming, you know, manager.
The one that
If
bought
that guy's your manager,
the radio station guy, right?
yeah. Flowing those, and then those are the people that you see that's, you know, running the stuff right now. You know what I mean? The overseers.
Yeah.
Because they train their overseers well before they put them in the field.
That's right. It groomed everyone.
Groom them well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's groomed.
Yes.
Everybody is groomed well. You know, in order to fleece the people.
Yes.
You know, it's no different. You know, like it's you know, hip hop versus rap. You know, Noble Jawali versus black rap.
And that stuff is going on in front of our faces.
Like great.
That's what American Idol is. That's what Best Dance Crew is. That's what all of these Monarch projects, in your face grooming projects, in your face grooming projects.
Like you're gonna see somebody on one of these shows.
Yeah,
Wants to be a star.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
When a star is really a son. Like what? Why do you just, you know? Can I be a son if I'm a female? You know, like,
Tell me why plantation and then taken out.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah.
The
They never stayed. But they still got them.
in a way, yeah, they got me.
like, sorry to all the Motown lovers out there. I understand, but Motown, when we talk about that, everyone there's a disguise going on. They call it the machine, right? Because it's really Motor Town.
Yeah.
It's actually a transporting company.
Oh, the record company itself?
It's actually a transport Motor Town, dealing with automobiles,
Right.
driving, transporting. So it's about transporting a message.
Okay.
There's like maybe like a post office kind of thing,
Okay.
like a company that's taking fictitious entities and using them to transact other things, as like geishas are used to swindle business deals. This is to swindle the people, to steer the people, using this machine,
Yeah.
Motown.
Yeah. Speaking of well groomed, they're very well groomed.
Oh, Smokey wrote all those songs.
Smokey was awesome.
Woo! His songs were down to a science.
He was smooth.
The right pitches according to the quadrivium.
Writers cannot be just anybody.
Yeah.
Singers cannot be
Science.
anybody.
Yeah.
And the people around them.
That's why the songs last. That's why they last. So when certain ones just resonate with people and bring you back into the sorrow state.
Yeah.
Nothing comes out.
You'll cry just
Sure.
listening to the song.
You
Sure.
can look at this. Nothing comes out of Motown that's not a number one track. If it's not a number one track, if ever it should happen, the person disappears.
Yeah. Holland Dozier Holland. Oh, those guys were phenomenal writers.
The
Oh,
artist
down.
disappears.
They wrote
Pass
over
away.
36 number one tunes.
Overdose.
Yeah,
or
they're-
something
11
like that.
overdose, they die in a car crash, or they clip them. Somehow they were suffering from cancer throughout their whole career.
So cancer or something all of a sudden, man. I'm so cancer.
Because of the number one thing.
Yeah, just getting the job done. If they don't get the job done, then fine.
Mention that. I was talking to somebody the other day. They mentioned Whitney Houston. No, I was.
Oh yeah.
Whitney Houston, they so killed it. Get out of here. Steve Jobs.
You're talking about somebody basically weren't producing number ones anymore. He figures that's why they done them, and I just can't remember who it was.
Okay.
So now you're talking
Jackie
about phenomenal. He was amazing.
Wilson. Jackie Wilson, once he fell off of his game, that was it. He did one wrong move. That's it. They got him.
Marvin DJ.
Marvin.
Jump. Yeah.
Marvin led the pack actually. That those who fled off. He actually started. Marvin's death. Then it was Stevie. Then it was Michael. That left the nest. But obviously, it's still strategized. They had another group for them. They had a bigger deal in the large sense. So very Gordy lost his job. Now it's somebody else. Now it's Quincy, and then somebody who's better than
Another overseer.
The overseer is running it. No more. Time done, overseer.
Overseer time.
Overseer time done.
You know, I never ever looked at it from that. I knew that the artists themselves were really terribly exploited. You know, very terribly. I mean, some of them ended up with nothing, and they were so talented.
They
You know,
still have nothing to this day. Diana doesn't have anything.
You know,
but I never saw this other side of it. I wasn't aware of that part of it.
that's why they have.
So you're saying
So they have traumas in their
the
lives.
production companies or the people that are representing them, they
Own them.
they own
chattel
them.
property.
What I'm saying is that if and when they become useless, they're getting rid of
Remember,
them.
that's the Masonic law. That's the Masonic oath.
That's
Yeah,
that's the deal. You know, those deals are walking across the building sands. You know, like if
Yeah,
you're
but
not
they
gonna
haven't
do
done anything wrong. They just haven't produced.
Right, but they
That's
signed
wrong.
a contract without reading the rights to the contract
Yeah.
that said we're gonna hang you when you stop selling records.
Yeah.
And if you try to jump ship, we're gonna kill you. This is death row.
Mhm.
That's what Suge Knight represents, a bunch of Zionist Jews who actually own death row, and they put his face on there, but Suge Knight don't own death row. But it's the same thing that they're just doing, and they set up one in the ghetto. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it's because of this oath thing.
So the oath is that if somehow they get out, or try to get out,
Yeah. It's
just
contract.
what-
You can't break
we
a
don't-
contract.
You can't break the
You know, we don't have the oath.
That's it.
Right.
We don't have what was said, but
contract.
that's how contracts go,
Mhm.
right? It's just like we were talking about
you're hoping
yesterday.
that it's not your life that's on the line.
Well, no, your life is on the line
Yeah,
because
it is.
that's the contract.
That's what I'm saying.
The contract is
The
sales,
contract isn't losing your house. The contract
Yeah.
is
sales of your life.
Well, same as the engine. If your part's not working, you throw it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you
Or it'll sabotage the whole car.
The whole car. So it's motor time.
All the time.
Wow.
The temptations in the movie, like the typical example is
Yes.
is you know that one Papa was a Rolling Stone. Every more Negro black colored, labeled Negro black colored, that song just put you right back into that was for drug users. That was for heroin users. It was like how they have new song, trippy songs, and the
Yeah,
guys take
yeah.
and trip out.
Yeah.
Like that was the trippy song,
song.
for heroin during the American gangster days. Like it was all strategically all put out at the same exact time, and then you see it in the movie where they come in and they have this new writer for them, and they come in and they're gonna record the song and they're reading the lyrics 5 minutes before recording, and then the lead singer's tripping out, saying, "Yo, this is absurd." He's like, "Who wrote this?" And he's like, "Because it starts out was the 1st of September, the day I remember. That was the day when my daddy died, and that was the day the guy's dad really died."
No way.
And they made him sing it. He had to sing it. And then he goes, "What's this?" He goes, and the guy goes, "You're a singer. It creates passion."
It's trauma.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trauma based. This is the Monarch Project, MK Ultra. It's trauma based mind control.
Infused into the sound.
Rihanna sings about it in Disturbia
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Like they do things. So Jennifer Hudson, when they say sacrifice her parents or her mom and stuff, whether she was in on it or not. You know what I mean? Either they did it or not. Right. They have to. There's a form of trauma creates control. Like, you know, fear. You know, the typical scare tactics.
But didn't Kanye West sacrifice his mom as well?
Yeah, that they all.
You have to give up something
You have
if
to
you
give
want to
up
get
something.
to the top of
Yeah.
the mountain.
Also, to that is your allegiance.
That's your anchor.
Yeah.
That's your anchor. They got something on you now. You step out of line, they're gonna bust your bubble.
So
They have a sex tape because they make them all do sex tapes and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're seeing them because they're controlling them. Oh, don't step out of line, Chris Brown.
It's coming out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then now we're gonna make you guys enemies, and then now you guys are
And then you get
united
married
again.
together.
That's all bull.
Yeah.
That's the
do a
whole.
song together and all that.
And meanwhile, she's doing
She's
a song called SMH, singing
Yes.
Right.
it's whispering SMH at the end of her song.
You know.
Sadomasochistic.
What does it mean?
Sadomasochistic, meaning someone who enjoys pain.
Yeah.
That's what she is.
Yeah. So she's
That's what
whispering
she
that
is,
at the
the
end of her.
image that.
What's the song? I gotta forget what the song called, but if you S
yes,
it's S&M.
H.
That's the name of the song.
Yeah, that's the name of the song. Oh, that's the name of the song.
Yeah.
So there it is. Yeah, S&M.
She has enough songs like that.
Yes, and that's
She's the.
that's sexual stuff.
And then I don't know if this
I
is
even
fit
know
for it.
something sticks and stones may break my bones, but I stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's the
Like,
lyrics
but
to the song.
I used to remember. I forced myself to forget the lyrics.
Oh,
That's how I'm blacked out.
But it ties into the
Like
Whitney
that
Houston thing and the Super Bowl, the rituals, but in front of your face.
yeah.
They told you at the Super Bowl, we're gonna do a sacrifice ritual in front of your face, everybody.
Oh, with Madonna.
Madonna and Nicki Minaj. It was a whole
MIA.
thing, the whole everything. It was about rituals and their wrongs and all. And Nicki Minaj got tied up to the thing and going into exorcism. And being and now the alignment of the place, and it was all and everything. It was just disgusting. They set up right in front of everyone's face, and then now either it's gonna be who they ushered in the new energies, Adele or Jennifer Hudson. So it was
I
like
think it's gonna be Adele.
Adele. So it put they're gonna see what reaction it
Wouldn't
takes.
they do both? Wouldn't they do both to have both nations like then?
So, yeah.
So everyone,
they could, yeah.
everyone.
right? That's a good strategy.
And now Jennifer Hudson has everybody like like who puts out a song? I love the way you lie. Or strap you to the bed and something and light the house on fire.
Everybody, come on.
Like, who sits down and says, yo, who write that
But
song?
nobody flinches. Nobody's like,
Yeah.
what?
Because we're so
Ah, people are that sleep.
So
What's
sleep,
happened to
yo.
music is the fact that
Numb.
you
Yeah,
trash
numb.
for so long that we want
Good word, bro.
Comfortably.
what happened to the golden era of hip hop? Because we've been eating trash for so long in terms of music, now we want trash. So everyone's going to get trash. But like, what happened to the golden era of hip hop? Like Mos Def, Lord Finesse, Sinat X. Like, come on, Tell the Funky Homo Sapien. Like, all these rappers are like, they're the gold. But
Yeah.
like, what happened after? Like, I think
That's
it
what
was
happened.
Lord Finesse. I think he went on stage and people are like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, they're too conscious.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang, Shaheem. No, it was Shaheem. Yo, Shaheem went on stage and and no one clapped for him. They're like, "Yo, who is this guy?" And he's Wu-Tang.
Yeah,
Just imagine, like,
yeah, too conscious.
That's where it's at right now.
stop this. No one knows about hip hop anymore. Like,
But just like no one knows about hip hop, right? No one knows about the prophet.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I never
Yeah.
knew about Noble Drew Ali till I came here. And same with Marcus Garvey.
So people don't know. And so they will close out with to be proclaimed in every meeting, so we could understand why things are how they are and where we gotta go. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as an American citizen, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance as badly as I do at present, that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work in which I have performed in the last few months, because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same cause. Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam.
Is there any questions or comments or before we
This whole Motown thing has got me floored. Right now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Let's take a second think back.
But you know, even though it's surprising, it's not surprising at the same time when you understand it. When you understand that this jurisdiction, okay, this is how they operate, and even if the company was started by someone that decided he was going to have himself a little record company and he's going to go from there, they will infiltrate it and they will use it and use him and use everyone going into it for their own ends type of thing.
Did
And it's
but it's the Aquarian age now, so
right on.
Make you a star. So you go along with it or you don't.
Yeah.
You want to become a star.
So it's surprising, but it's when from one perspective, but at the same time, it's not really surprising because nothing surprises me anymore. You know, really and truly. You know, you get to a point where everything that you thought was black is actually white. You know, and vice versa. You know, so there you go. Exactly. So nothing is really surprising. It's surprising on one level, and on another, it's almost as though you expected it.
Yeah.
You know.
And they use stuff like liquor and drugs to control you.
Oh yeah,
And
that's how the Black
those are
Panthers.
tools.
Right? The Black Panthers, when they were in there at the time, USA government imported about 1,000 kilos of crack into the streets just to get rid of it, and then they gave it to the members of the Black Panthers, and then it just fell from there. It just went up. Is it 1,000? I think it's more.
Yeah, they pumped that into the streets.
They flooded it.
Concentration. But like the prophet says, you know, he needs finance. But look up the definition of finance, right?
Okay.
So when the prophet says he needs finance, he's not talking about cash. Because if he needed cash, he'd say, "I need cash." If he wanted silver, he'd say, "I need silver." He didn't need. That's not what he was talking about. He was talking about activity. So that's why, you know, we promote activity to those who know that this is, you know, this. They know the truth of it, and they know themselves. So, you know, be active and not passive. Because all Moors are active. So
Islam. All Moors are active. Islam to all the Moors online. Give thanks, yeah.
Islam.
Islam. Good one today.
So as we started, we'll finish 5 on the left and 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Mother and Father of love.
Mother and Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide.
Our guide.
And our salvation.
And our salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
He is in her holy prophet.
He is in our holy prophet.
Noble Jew Ali.
Noble Jew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Amin.
Amin.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Sila.
Sila.
Islam.
Islam.
Yeah.